it's one of those that even as a grizzled and jaded old telco veteran, whenever I see it, I kind of go, actually, yeah, that's quite cool. And what I think is doubly exciting about this for us is, as well as the capability itself being unique to us, the important thing for me is that it talks back to that thing that I mentioned earlier about saving cost and saving time and saving energy.
Hi, and welcome back to the Teams Insider podcast. This week we are talking Teams Phone Mobile. Hot off the press in the UK, we have our third operator offering Teams Phone Mobile, and we talked to Duncan at VMO2 about the proposition, the value to end customers, how it all works. And Duncan also has a wealth of experience in the mobile telco space, so we got into some of that backstory and history as well. Many thanks to Duncan for taking the time to jump on the pod, and many thanks to Luware, who are the sponsor of this podcast. Really appreciate their support of everything we're doing at Empowering Cloud. On with the show. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Teams Insider podcast. Really exciting conversation this week. We've been talking about Teams Phone Mobile quite a lot, and we now have a third operator in the UK who is live. I've got Duncan on the show. I'm going to dive into what Teams Phone Mobile is and also some of the opportunities, how some of the tech works. So, Duncan, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Tom. Great to be here.
Awesome. So you've got a long background in telco. I think we might have crossed paths in the past. Can you just give us a little bit about your background and your current role and kind of how VMO2 is looking at the whole modern work proposition as well?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, as you say, I'm kind of long in the telco tooth.
I mean that in a nice way.
Yeah.
You and me both.
Yeah, it's my youthful looks. So I first started my telco journey way back in 2001 as a fresh-faced young marketing graduate at Vodafone. And spent a long time at Vodafone in a number of different roles across consumer and enterprise. And that was where I first kind of encountered the world of unified comms and contact center and fixed and mobile convergence in a role there. And since then, I left there a while ago, moved over to Three, where I spent some time in their wholesale product and marketing unit, and then I joined Virgin Media in the middle of the first lockdown, July 2020, which was a strange experience, kind of because everything was locked down.
So you were like a remote onboard.
It was really weird because you don't have all of the usual kind of psychological markers for leaving a place, kind of saying goodbye to everybody and leaving dues and things like that. I literally left my role at Three on the Tuesday, started at Virgin Media on the Wednesday, and I moved from sitting at home working on a grey Dell laptop to sitting at home working on a slightly different grey Dell laptop.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Like, I think psychologically that's really interesting that it's just like, oh, Friday I was on this and Monday I'm on that, and it's a whole new team and a whole new world, but same physicality.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it was quite a jolt, but it was a really interesting time to join Virgin Media because about 2 weeks after I joined, the merger with O2 was announced. Mm-hmm. So we were straight into that kind of process of integration, which has been, it's been a really, really interesting journey.
And for our global audience, like they probably recognise those brands, but could you just kind of summarise what Virgin Media is and what O2 is and those two worlds coming together?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So Virgin Media has been it's been very much in kind of a fixed line challenger brand in the UK for a good number of years, and that's across consumer and business. And in consumer, a lot of focus on having the kind of the fastest and best quality broadband connectivity with the kind of a TV service overlay, and then obviously a mobile capability as well. And then Virgin Media Business, there was a lot of heavy focus on, again, the data networking, connectivity, good strong presence in public sector. That's the kind of the heritage there. And the good fit with O2 was that O2, of all of the major mobile operators like Vodafone and EE, O2 was, if you like, kind of the most mobile centric. A lot of focus, a lot of drive. From the early days of having exclusivity on the iPhone, kind of a lot of real heavy customer focus in O2, and a real kind of innovative sense of the brand. So actually bringing those two brands together brought a company with a strong fixed heritage, a company with a strong mobile heritage. There was a real natural fit there. And interestingly, culturally, that's been the case as well. Both kind of companies have had a very similar mindset historically, so bringing those together has been a really interesting journey. And for me personally, our team as it is the kind of the modern workplace team now, because of the products that we look after in the kind of the voice, the UC contact center managed mobility space, actually straddled the kind of the Venn diagram between the two parent companies as well. So we were
Yeah.
almost straight into the how do we integrate these things? How do we get these things working together? What do we focus on? Whereas the more either mobile centric parts of the business or fixed, we're almost slightly away from the integration. We were right into it from day one. So it's been a really interesting journey, and I feel that we're in a really really exciting space right now with a lot of the things that we're doing in the modern workplace area, definitely.
Nice. And what does your remit look like? Because that is kind of bringing that modern work portfolio together, right?
Yeah, it is, absolutely. Yeah, so I look after our modern workplace portfolios. That runs the gambit from our legacy voice network products that we're obviously switching off at a rate in the UK. It runs through our IP voice, unified comms, contact center suite, and then also our managed mobility products. So we do a lot of work with the likes of Microsoft on Copilot and Intune, Defender, endpoint security. So we kind of bring all of those together and we work a lot with our marketing colleagues on what are the right propositions that we can construct, for field workers, hybrid workers, different personas, and what are the right product components we can then bring together to kind of bring those propositions to life. That's very much where we sit.
Awesome. And let's talk Teams Phone Mobile, because that's the hot conversation at the moment. So, I guess briefly, can you talk us through kind of what it is for? I guess most people listening to this pod are already into it, but it'd be interesting to see how you pitch it as a capability, business value.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, do you know what? One of the things now I've thought this a lot recently. I've been in and out of this part of the market for, as I say, for a number of years now. But the thing that always keeps me coming back to it, and I think Teams Voice and Teams Phone Mobile specifically is a great example, is it changes the nature of the conversation you can have with your customers. So you're not just talking to customers about SIMs and devices and circuits and speed. Now you can talk to the CIO about what's their technology strategy evolution roadmap. You could talk to the HR director about how are they going to keep their people connected and motivated and supported in a distributed world. You can talk to the finance director about existing in a cost of living crisis with challenges all over the place, and how can they really sweat and maximize their kind of technology investments. It kind of opens up all these different interesting conversations and avenues you can have with customers. And that's kind of very much where we're kind of focusing our Teams Phone and Teams Phone Mobile effort is on really underpinning those customer conversations and using this to bring them to life. And the other thing I think is really exciting about it is that I think for the first time as an industry, we can kind of genuinely start to make good on that promise of fixed mobile convergence, and FMC has been kicking around for ages.
It has been forever. It feels like, finally, because of the tight integration with the UCAS, it finally feels like some of the premise. I was doing it back in my Cisco days of basic, like it was basically clever handoff, like you're on the Wi-Fi. Yeah. But now it's getting much smarter, and it feels like, certainly from the Microsoft team, there's a lot of investment and mind share there on like mobile is important. This is only going to get to be a tighter and cleverer integration.
Yeah, definitely, and that's one of the reasons why we find it so exciting here, is because like you said, the industry's been talking about this for years and years and years, but it's never quite managed to hit the intersection between kind of the UCAS piece and the collaboration piece and the network piece, and that's never really kind of all quite hung together. You could have a couple, but you've never really managed to bring the whole lot together into one, so that you can kind of start to say now we can genuinely make people device, location, and task agnostic. So it doesn't matter now what device you're trying to work on, what task you're trying to do, and where you are, kind of doesn't matter anymore. And that, I think, is really that provokes a lot of really interesting light bulb moments with a lot of customers, where they kind of, you can see them kind of go, okay. Because I think up until now, it's almost been a bit of a industry-led, you really want FMC, and the market's kind of gone, oh, okay, do we? All right.
Yeah.
Whereas now I think we can really bring it to life.
Well, I would almost say in some cases, particularly with smaller orgs / recently established organizations, it's mobile first backing into
Absolutely.
connect to UC rather than UC kind of going into mobile. And I certainly see with the enterprise customers that I talk to all the time, there's a lot of rationalization of fixed line where they're looking at the stats and they're going, actually, like we mostly meetings these days, like maybe we do shared calling, maybe we do outbound. But I don't see anybody saying that about mobile technology, because obviously it's pretty integrated into everything we do these days, to the point where we are having conversations about maybe I could live on an iPad, maybe I'm mobile first, that kind of thing. So it feels like these things always take longer than maybe technologies think, but it feels like that's definitely the direction of travel.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that, you know, your point about fixed line is really interesting, because we definitely see this as the first step in the customer conversation is, you know, we know that, you know, well over 60% of our customer base is grappling with some kind of legacy technology transition challenge right now. And that could be, you know, 3G switch off, it could be legacy voice switch off, it could be a data network migration from IPVPN to SD-WAN, whatever that is, right? And they all point to a similar challenge that customers are grappling with, which is, I've now got this kind of long tail of legacy technology, which is costing me money and it's costing me flexibility. I can't then trim that down or reinvest that. You know, I'm also struggling with, you know, shadow IT since COVID, you know, the pop-up of multiple different collaborators because people are collaborating on Slack or Zoom or whatever.
Yeah.
Or they've got a whole bunch of existing investment. You know, we know about the explosion of Teams. Obviously, what is it, 350 million users and counting
320
now?
million monthly active, about 20 million phone is the official number, although it's a little bit higher now.
Exactly, and it's absolutely exploded. And so many customers now are out there kind of going, well, how do I sweat that investment that I've already made? And, you know, we think that the Teams phone piece, especially with the mobile integration, kind of hits on all three of those fundamental challenges, which is, you know, if you're looking at a cost base that includes, you know, some ISDNs or some SIP with, you know, hooked up to a PBX that might be on site and an engineer comes and hits it with a spanner when it breaks, or it's up in the cloud or whatever. You've got licenses attached to that and desk phones attached to that. You've got an existing investment on Microsoft, possibly with a lot of E5 licenses, depending on
the E5 is a big one as well, isn't it? We know from the numbers there's, you know, 40 million plus E5s and there's 20 million Teams phone, and not all the Teams phone are E5, so there's got to be 20 odd, you know, give or take in either direction, because Microsoft don't give us the exact numbers publicly, million licensed phone users out there that haven't activated yet. So, and maybe some of those use cases are because they're not super heavy on fixed line, maybe they're mobile first. Yeah,
and it's great. It's great when you kind of. So I had a conversation with a customer not that long ago, actually, and we were kind of talking through all of this and all the use cases, and I kind of almost fell into the classic telco trap of, oh, it does this, and you can uplift calls, and you've got CLI and stuff like this, and blah, blah, blah. But the bit where the light bulb really went on was when I was talking about the fact that Teams Phone as a capability already exists inside an E5 license, and the response from the customer was, okay, so I've got loads of these already, so actually I can then unlock this kind of saving, because I can then rip out all of these other things. I can better sweat this asset I've already spent the money on and deliver these other benefits. And it was almost kind of, that was where the conversation really turned a corner, because rather than us, I guess, as an industry, almost like self-aggrandizing by saying about all the features and the widgets, from a customer's perspective, we can say this can save you money and this can save you time operationally by simplifying all of this infrastructure.
Yeah.
And bringing it all together onto a single platform, so you can then communicate not just yourselves but also with your customers, right? So we know we've got, 5 generations of people in the workplace these days, and you know, I know my kids, they communicate very, very differently than I do. You know, if somebody actually calls them on their phone, they freak out. But having that kind of complete communications capability just on one platform actually means that our customers can meet their customers where they are and the communications methods that they prefer. So that simplicity really touches, I think, to a number of those different use cases.
Yeah. So let's talk about the saving money is interesting, isn't it? Because I feel like Teams Phone Mobile, it's been in market for a while now. So in the UK, we had BT first, Voda, and then you guys VMO2. Mm-hmm. It hasn't taken off as fast as I thought it would. And I think that's part of the conversation is there is an additional cost for, I think, all the carriers at the moment to add this capability on. And I like how you're talking about the kind of complete life cycle conversation. So is that how you're going into customers and saying this value is worth adding, like whatever it is, typically it's between $4 and $10 on the carriers to add this capability, because operational saving, business value, one number to manage. Is that the story?
Yeah, definitely, because that concept of we have we charge a customer a certain amount, and then this is an upsell to the customer. That's very much us. That's our concept. So we look at it and kind of say, oh, well, how can we convert and drive this upsell? If we flip that round and look at it from a customer's perspective, really it's a total cost of ownership saving, because we can say, well, actually we can enable you to remove all of this cost and complexity that you've got. So for a small additional fee, you can plug in your Microsoft license estate that you're already spending money on to your mobile that you're already spending money on, and then clean a lot of this out. And then you can then start to derive the additional collaboration, productivity, contactability benefits, and we can talk about that. But your first step is this can save you money. So actually there's a real value attached to that in terms of that. And I feel that to me that's the way in to a lot of customers, because especially in the current environment with cost of living and tariffs and uncertainty all over the place, if we can give the story which is very much around we can help you effectively just spend more of your time and money just running your business rather than working on your business. You can actually kind of drive your business forward because you're spending less time and money on your communications infrastructure. That feels like a more compelling start to the conversation, and then you can take it off in all the different directions.
And who are you thinking about as your kind of ideal target market / persona / scenario for Teams Phone Mobile? Because I imagine like every large telco, you've got a field, talking to all different people about all different solutions. What's your perspective on where this is going to be a more natural fit?
Well, so the way that we've kind of looking at this is very much from a proposition focus, so from a persona perspective. So field worker, for example, we know there's a consistency across verticals. So rather than getting hyper verticalized across verticals, we know that there are a range of different use cases for predominantly mobile users. We also know that there are a range of different use cases for hybrid workers as well. And this is where we kind of bring the story together. So it's Teams Phone Mobile is absolutely a key pillar, but really it's a Teams phone. It's a Teams collaboration conversation.
Yeah.
Because we think that the majority of customers will probably look for a mixed estate deployment, where they'll have use cases for their predominantly field workers, could be engineers, assessors, sales, whatever. But also an additional use case for their more hybrid workers, folks like us. So being able to bring that together into one kind of platform, one story, so it's less of a siloed product story and more of a solution story, where we can go, well, we can give you just a single pane of glass. You can manage it all. There's automation behind it, and then you just have different deployments for your different personas in your organization. And if we extend that out, we think that there's a substantial opportunity for this right up and down the customer size stack, whether you're an SMB, kind of mid-market. These are all arbitrary telco definitions of customer size, right? But mid-market up into large enterprise and public sector. It's just that the customer drivers will be different. So as you say at the start, very in that kind of SMB space, there's a real kind of mobile only conversation.
Yeah.
And how do I grow and scale my business without having to put down some of the heavy fixed infrastructure? As you get up into the large enterprise market, that's where the real kind of legacy technology debt simplification becomes much more relevant, because they've got a lot more of that, and we see a lot of that as we're going through our voice network switch off. When you start to really talk to customers and understand what they've already got in place, there's a lot of complexity there. So we kind of view it as a persona driven.
That's interesting. Yeah. So pockets of users within customers potentially, as well as like customer type.
Yeah.
What's your perception, Duncan, of like the end market understanding this? I was talking about this. I've talked with a few people, but we had Adam Holtby on from Omdia recently, and we were talking about like the end customers don't seem to yet understand what it is or what the capabilities are. Does that, because you've obviously had early customers working on it, you've been talking to customers, what's your perception of that?
Well, so I think this is a bit of a, being long in the telco tooth, I think this is a bit of an industry challenge, because one of the things that we've grappled with, right, and we've grappled with this internally as well, it's been really interesting learnings, is that the amount of folks that you speak to and you kind of talk about Teams Phone Mobile and they go, oh, I've already got it.
Yeah.
It's this, isn't it?
That definitely resonates. That's the first thing I hear when I talk about it as well. I'm like, not the app, but like, oh, what's not the app?
It's Teams and it's on my mobile. It's Teams mobile, right? So if you, I think the key thing is keeping that in sight, because it's easy to just kind of run away from where the customer is, because you charge off into all the different kind of product capabilities that it can do. You kind of come straight back to actually, let's just point out what it isn't.
Mm-hmm.
And why is it that actually this level of integration into your mobile native network experience, what does that then unlock in terms of that seamless interaction between your mobile and your Teams, and all of the things we talk about, the single presence, the single voicemail, the moving calls between teams, all of those really, really cool features that are just continually being added and expanded by Microsoft. But it's making sure we don't lose sight of that as a first question, which is, I've already got it.
Yeah.
And I think that I think personally that's probably been a bit of an industry challenge of we run away with the tech. As an industry, we've got previous in doing stuff like this.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think I'm hoping that was change, because there are multiple carriers in market now and multiple carriers around the world. I feel like there's some point in the future where you sign up for Business Mobile and it'll be like, oh, which UCAS, pick the drop down, here you are, because it just has to on some timeline. Obviously Cisco have got their proposition, Microsoft have got theirs, others will come, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting that you say that, because that it's something that's unique about our Teams Phone and Teams Phone mobile capability that we're bringing to market, and it's one of the reasons why it's kind of taken us a while to build the architecture. Is we're unique in that we, as part of our architecture, we've partnered up with one of Microsoft's accelerator partners, PingCo, and we've built an automation engine as part of our kind of architecture, which actually, when customers sign up, so it's Operator Connect or Teams Phone Mobile, single pane, and it fully automates the setup, MACD process. It fully automates all of that.
Yeah, I think I've seen. We know Dan and the PingCo team. I think I've seen Dan demo this live in front of a few hundred people. He's like, "Watch me provision TPM, click, click, click."
Yeah, and it's one of those that even as a grizzled and jaded old telco veteran, whenever I see it, I kind of go, actually, yeah, that's quite cool. And what I think is doubly exciting about this for us is as well as the capability itself being unique to us, the important thing for me is that it talks back to that thing that I mentioned earlier about saving cost and saving time and saving energy, because it reinforces that message into customers, which is, yes, we've spoken about the legacy tech bit, but also from an operational perspective, we can take all of that complexity of set up, use, manage away from you because of this. So you can just have almost an oversight. And again, you can then reinvest that time and energy back into your business. And then if we kind of extend that further to multiple products and multiple solutions, it could then start to become, well, this might be the last port you ever make. Because once you're then into that world, we can then start to offer that to customers to say, well, actually, it doesn't really matter if you've got a mixture of different products or solutions, because we can bring them into our kind of management portal.
Yep.
And you can then move and migrate customers around without having to go through this kind of multi-product, multi-platform complexity, which drives so much inertia, because customers are looking at it going, this is just going to be hard to move. So again, if you can take that away as a barrier, which we genuinely think that our partnership with PingCo puts us in a great position to be able to do. And interestingly, when we've been building this out internally, this is another one of those light bulb moments that goes on internally when you're sitting in a meeting with senior stakeholders and what have you, and you do what you said down in the PingCo code. You go, right, okay, so from a standing start, tip tap tap tappy tappy tap, right, I'm up and running, and then it's kind of like okay, that's okay, you have my attention.
Yeah.
So with that's an area that we think is really going to drive a lot of kind of customer interest because it simplifies the conversation.
It's interesting with I had a recent experience with setting up eSIMs for somebody, and I was like madly impressed with that. I held on for a long time because I switched phones a lot to a physical SIM. I'm like, QR code, SIM card, like that's amazing.
It is. It's one of those. It is one of those kind of things where you go, okay, we're on the cusp of something here, and as you kind of said, we're on of moving towards that journey where folks kind of go, well, actually, in the future, maybe this is how customers are going to interact in that more digital, self-serve way, where the complexity is then taken away from them. And I think historically in the UC space, it'd be great to kind of hear your thoughts on it as well. But I think historically in the UC space, that complexity has been one of the biggest challenges for customers in terms of really getting to a place where they've got a technology solution that wraps itself around them rather than them having to wrap themselves around whatever the technology does.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. It's also interesting. The move to cloud has been really interesting because I used to do really big global, what was Link and then Skype rollouts, where the server architecture and the deployment was 6 weeks design and 12 months project. And that was the hard bit. And then we connected telco, which was hard, but not impossible. Gateways, job done. Flipped on its head now. The UCaaS is just credit card deployed. And now the hard bit is actually gateways, lines, OCDR, telco regs and rules. So it's kind of flipped to where that's the piece now that's a little bit harder.
Yeah. And I think being able to say to customers, we can get you up and running in minutes, not months.
Yeah.
Is it's a very compelling, okay, tell me more way to kind of start having that conversation.
Awesome. Well, Duncan, thanks for jumping on the pod. Appreciate your perspective and your views on the world, and congrats on launching. Maybe we give it a bit of time and then have some experience of customer stories in a few months once you've got a few more customers on board. That'd be interesting.
Love to. Sounds great. No, thank you very much for your time. Great to chat.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Thanks a lot.